can't hate your way to happiness. It's a waste of life you can't relive. Straight to the point, straight to the heart.
That the bridge to my song Made For, which I wrote just kind of about body image. And we, especially as women, we spend so much time judging ourselves and criticizing ourselves. And then the older you get, the more you're like, what a waste. Like, I don't want to spend any more time of my precious life hating this vessel that is the only reason I even get to experience any of this.
Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Shafer of Talks with Dr. Shafer. I'm so glad you're here. I'm a physician, mom, musician, author, publisher, and I am passionate about helping others reclaim their stories so they can build their most beautiful future. Creating spaces for storytelling is an important way of doing that. And today we have a very special guest on the show who does just that through her music. Morgan-St. truly needs no introduction, but because I love having the opportunity to talk about all of her amazing accomplishments, we're going to do it. A powerhouse singer-songwriter raised in New York City and living in LA, Morgan-St. has stunned listeners around the world with her velvety vocals and meaningful lyrics set to music that moves you. With touching hits from Past Life, my personal favorite, Not All Men, Skin and Bones, Good Swimmer, God's Country, More, Girls Just Wanna, and many other hits, Morgan-St. continues to share her talent with the world and inspire us with anthems that mean more than just words. They actually become a part of the soundtrack to your life. Thank you so much, Morgan, for being on the show today.
Wow, what an intro. That is so sweet. Thanks for having me.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I mean every word. You are not just a singer. And I think it really comes across if you go down the rabbit hole, if our listeners have not been introduced to your discography, to your work yet, if you go down the rabbit hole of listening to the songs, it is really unique how each song has its own life, its own anthem, and advocates for something really, really meaningful. And I think, especially because I think you and I are kind of similar vintages as when we were born. And music hasn't always been that way, especially pop music. What genre would you consider yourself to be starting off?
I think I consider it like I call it feminist pop. And I think genres are so fluid, these days. And I think that's such a gift. And when it comes to my live show, I think my live show leans almost a little bit rocky because it's a live band and live instrumentation. But it is pop in the sense that it's stuff that I think could be listened to by a lot of people. But that's something that I really value and take really seriously is the idea that I want to write songs that maybe say something that people haven't heard before or in a different way than they've heard before. And I really feel like it's kind of my duty as a musician and as someone who was given a voice by God or the universe or whoever. I think it's kind of my duty to use it to say something. And my ultimate goal through my music is to make people feel less alone.
And I can tell you, I can testify that you've done that. There was a really rocky time in my life not that long ago, and Good Swimmer was really important to me. That was definitely something that I listened to, when I needed, we can have these beliefs inside, but when it gets really rocky, sometimes we need something outside of us to just remind us of who we are and how strong we are. And Good Swimmer for me it was a big help. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. That's one of those songs that to be honest, I had the concept and the lyric, Mama didn't raise no quitter, throw me in the deep end, I'm a good swimmer, for multiple years. And I tried to write it and I tried to write it and it just wasn't working. And then finally one day it kind of clicked and it's become such a special song for me. And my mom is such an inspiration in my life. She is really like, I always say she's the original bad B. I don't know if I can go there, but yeah, she's the OG. And so I'm so inspired by her. And I actually said to her the other day, I was like, it hits me when you're in the audience how many of my songs reference you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I forget. And then when she's in the audience, I'm like, wow, I really talk about her a lot.
That's really beautiful. I have a very close relationship with my daughter, Amelie, who I know I mentioned to you off stage that, She has a book coming out that I illustrated that she wrote. We do a lot of things together. And when I listen to your music, it's interesting because sometimes I think of my relationship with my mother, but sometimes I think of my relationship with my daughter. And that's one
Mhm.
of the themes in your music that I think is just so stunning is how you talk about family. It's very clear from your discography that you're very comfortable with the nuance. You're comfortable with discussing things like trauma and things that women's issues, things that we are challenged by. And yet there is this optimism that also runs through it. And very often, my feeling from listening and diving into the lyrics is that a lot of that comes from this really important primary relationships you have with your family.
Yeah, I think I'm beyond lucky to have the family that I do. I mean, we're so close. Some would maybe say codependent, but we're just so close. And I think when I write, it's a fine line because you don't want to write from a place of sounding preachy or like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have no degree or anything that would give me any sort of qualifications to be giving advice. I just am a human being. And so much of what I write is honestly advice that I need, or maybe
Hmm.
that myself 3 years ago needed. I find a lot of inspiration in kind of I find it easier to give myself advice through song than, just in life. But also I have a brother, I have 2 brothers but my younger brother, we are really, really close and I feel very protective of him. I feel very like I don't really feel like I have a whole lot of maternal instincts, but with him I really do. And so a lot of my songs were kind of inspired by him or like messages that I wanted him to hear as well.
Mm, that's really beautiful. And I will say it's something that I had wanted to say earlier is that when you talking about how there's a lot of advocacy in your lyrics in your songs, it is not delivered in a preachy way.
Thank you.
And I think that's really interesting and important. Something that one of your songs about feminism talks about how the expectations for women are different. And when you are someone who is writing lyrics and sharing your story, you can be misinterpreted or seen as preachy or what have you very easily, right? The bar is at a different setting for women
Mhm.
as storytellers. And just in our everyday communication, often it can at least feel like, and I think a lot of us would say that that checks out as true. And you have such a really amazing ability to advocate and to speak your truth in a way that just feels right and it never feels preachy. And I think that's really magical because when you are trying to advocate for something, you really have to be able to do so in a way that doesn't cause pushback from people who are you're really hoping to hear your message.
And I think something that has helped me in that is accepting the fact that my message is not for everybody.
Mm.
I care about the right people hearing my message. I care about my fans, like, so deeply. They genuinely feel like a part of my life. We talk every day in my DMs, we have this deep, profound connection. So if I ever did something that upset the real fans, the ones who know who I am and the ones who, like, see my heart, that would be upsetting to me. But in general, I have really learned to just accept the fact that, like, my music isn't for everybody. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay because I would rather be loved by some and hated by some than not saying anything worth feeling strongly about. You know what I mean? I would rather be polarizing than be my job isn't to make people comfortable. My job is to challenge people and, express myself and talk about things that matter to me. And that's not going to resonate with everybody. And that's okay.
Yeah, and like one of your songs references, when it's not resonating and you get that pushback, that response, you can also take that to the bank, which I think is a really important important lesson for especially women, because we're taught, to be good girls. And as you say, um, good girls never make history, right? So we're taught to be good girls, and we're taught to respond to, okay, I've triggered someone. Oh, I better back up and back off, right? And edit myself. But what you share in to the bank is no, use that, learn from it, take it to the bank, whether it's someone literally just engaging with you on social media and literally ka-ching, increasing, your views and things. So it's literally going into the bank, or it's something that's going into the bank of inspiration and motivation for you in the future. You don't have to let that negativity tear you down. You can actually use it to build yourself up even more.
1,000%. And I think especially, in this era with social media, I think people experience that on all different levels. Like, I am public facing. I experience a lot of hate comments. If a video goes viral, a lot of those comments are going to be negative. I am very grateful that I have pretty thick skin. But, I can picture a 15-year-old on Instagram getting one negative comment, and it doesn't matter if it's from a bot. It doesn't matter if it's, from their friend at school. It's just like that can have such an impact. And so I think it's really important to spread this message of like, let that, yeah, fuel you, let that inspire you, because it will ruin your life if you take it to heart. I heard there was a therapist actually that in high school that said something once about, everyone's worried about what people think of the spot on their shirt. They come to school and you have a spot on your shirt and you're so worried what everyone else thinks about it. And you don't realize that everyone's thinking about their own spot on their own shirt. Most of the time, people aren't even thinking about you. But if they are, then let that be like, hey, I must matter to them. I take up space
Mm,
in their mind. And like, that's valuable.
yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of a Taylor Swift lyric where it's like actually romantic.
Yes. Yeah, I love that song.
We love it too. We try,
I love Taylor. Oh,
we have
agreed.
3 teenage girls or almost teenage girls.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so we do a lot of talking about reframing and reclaiming our thoughts
Mhm.
and what's happening around us and refocusing. And music, especially with young ones, is such a great way to deliver that message, because as mom, they may or may not want to listen to me, but Morgan St. Jean can write a song and I can just kind of sneak it in a playlist and and the message will be received
Well,
much, I
that's very
think.
nice. I, uh, I don't have kids, but that is a responsibility that I take very seriously. So I appreciate you entrusting me in that way.
I definitely do. It's interesting. My oldest daughter is quite liberal. She's really the oldest one, and so she's the only one that's really, like, gotten to a point where she's, really thoughtful about these things.
Sure.
And things will happen in the news and she'll get really, really frustrated. And we started, listening to music to try to help with, holding these two things at once. Like you can really, your workplace and dislike your boss. You can really love your country and
Mm,
maybe not agree with the policies that are happening this, 4 years or whatever it is. And so it's been kind of interesting as she's coming into her own to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak.
yeah.
Kids are learning how to hold, live in the gray zone and hold several things at once. And so one of your songs that we listen to that we really adore is God's Country. And so when she would get frustrated about, things that were going on, it was just an opportunity to kind of belt that out and kind of reclaim your own feelings about the space you live in, even if the policies aren't necessarily always in line with
100%.
how you feel. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting too, because I also think part of you can be frustrated by something, but it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about like let that fuel you. My frustrations with America are what inspired that song, but also my love for America is what inspired that song. My love for what I think America's all about. And so it's like you can be frustrated by things, as we all are, by so many different things, but I think allowing that to inspire you and being hopeful about things is like, for me, that inspires a lot of what I write, you know?
I love it. And then also, I just have to know, I know you've made videos about this, but I want to have a conversation about this. The last line in the chorus, like,
Oh my god.
what moment were you like, and I'm gonna put this in here too.
Yeah. So, okay, so God's Country started very much as a joke because Morgan Wallen, who, I listen to his music like everybody. He's cool, whatever. I don't know that we'd be besties, but whatever. And he was on SNL and he made a post being like, "Get me out of New York City, like get me to God's country." And I was like, wow, I could not relate less. I think New York is the best city in the entire world. Like, and then I was also thinking about it and I was like, isn't the whole point of like God and God's country that we're all a part of it? Like, why is New York exempt from that in your mind? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where he's from, but what is, why is that any different? And so it kind of just started as a joke song, like kind of just as a response to that. And then I was just writing it and I didn't really have any intention of releasing it or anything. And then, I was just trying to think of like words that rhymed with country, you know, claiming things. I think there is power in reclaiming certain words that have been used in a derogatory way towards women. And so I wrote the line and then I called Alex, who is like my guitar player, producer. We work together on like everything. And I was like, is this absolutely unhinged? And he was like, yes. And I think that's why you need to do it. And I was like, okay. And again, at that point, I didn't think I would really even be releasing the song. So I was like, whatever, like I'll post it to social media and I can always delete it. And then people just loved it and I decided to release it. And then I made a hat that is sort of like a red hat because again, I'm all about reclaiming these things. I'm like, if they're going to piss me off, I might as well take control of my own life and my own destiny and do something about it. And so I made these hats kind of as well, I made one for myself and I was like, oh, I'll film some social media content with it because it's funny and like it'll maybe get people to stop. And then people wanted to buy them. So I started selling them. I brought several on tour with me, sold out the first night. I was like, oh my gosh. So I think it's kind of just like a lighthearted way of also being political, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because we often don't like don't be political, right? We mentioned Taylor Swift earlier,
Uh-huh.
and she spent a lot of her career being told don't be political, but it's kind of one of those things that you shouldn't not have opinions because you're not wanting to be political because life is political. Politics actually exists to support the endeavors we have as a community and life. So I think to be authentic, it's impossible to never be quote unquote political because to be political is just to like be a human who has original thoughts and feelings and desires.
Well, and to your point, I always say, like, I don't personally feel like the stuff that I'm talking about is political. Me talking about queer love in my heart shouldn't be political. You know, it is, and that's just the society that we live in, that's the time that we live in, but the reason that I write about this stuff is not because it's political, it's because in my mind, I'm just writing about humanity.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
if someone else makes it political, I'm okay with that, but that's not the intention of why I write things, you know?
Exactly, and you don't edit yourself, right?
Mhm.
Again, when we talk about that line, that was clearly unedited and unhinged, and it was absolutely delightful. I was listening to the song recently because we just had 4th of July
Yeah.
recently. And by the way, so we live in northern Michigan in a town called Petoskey. It's near Harbor Springs, Michigan. If you like look us up in 4th of July, it's where I think half of the country comes to celebrate 4th
Wow.
of July because it's this picturesque, white picket fence kind of place. Um, and so here I am walking the dogs down the bike path. I'm like, God bless, just singing it. And then I was like, oh, careful.
Incredible, yeah. There's definitely been some interesting conversations that I've had to have with my parents and my in-laws and people being like, "Okay, just it's fun, it's for fun."
Love it. To really hone in on something that you said before about your advocacy for
Yeah.
queer love and human rights.
Mhm.
So your song, Skin and Bones, so I have a dry eye problem, so if I tear up, it becomes a big problem. I don't know if you have this, like, I'll, like, be crying and then it'll be a big deal. So I'm really trying not to cry right
Oh.
now, but I knew that heading into this discussion with you that it was going to be an hour-long struggle because so much of the work you do is really heavy on the advocacy side, which is really important to me and my family and the work we do
Mhm.
here as well. And Skin and Bones, there's this amazing video, and I know you know it, and I'm pretty sure you've reposted it, and I've reposted it too, where they use Skin and Bones, and it was two gentlemen who got engaged on a mountaintop. And it was Roy and I want to say Roy and Jason.
Mhm.
And they have you been able to talk to them? Have you met them?
No, sometimes when I post those videos, repost things, whatever, like people will DM me and be like, oh my gosh, that's me. But so much of it is just me seeing things and being inspired by things and wanting to celebrate things. And yeah, so I have not spoken to them, but it is really beautiful. Did you see a video I posted recently of the double proposal that happened at my show?
No, I don't know how
This
I missed that.
It's so crazy, truly one of, like, the coolest moments of my life. I'll tell you, like, kind of what happened. So, I had a fan reach out to me before my show in Washington, DC, and she said, "I want to my girlfriend and I are big fans of your music, I wanted to propose to her at your show. Could you help me make that happen?" And I was like, "This is my dream come true. I love love, probably more than most people. This is, like, everything for me." And so I was like, "Yes, of course." I asked her what song, and she actually said Island, which is a song that I wrote for my little brother. But again, it's really just about like love and being there for people. Um, and so that wasn't in the set, but we added it into the set. And I like told my musical director, Alex, I was like, okay, we need to add this moment, whatever. I'm going to bring them up on stage. I'm like messaging with this girl, in advance to make sure she knows when to come up on stage, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm so excited. And we built in a part of the song that's like just instrumentation so I could talk over it. And I said, one of the coolest parts of my job is getting to hear how these stories that I wrote from my bedroom impact people that I've never met before and things like that, and how you make them your own. And this was a really special example of that. So I wanted to invite, and I said their names. I said, I want to invite them to the stage. And they came on stage, and I gave the girl the mic, and she was really nervous. And she, said a sweet thing about wanting to propose. She gets down on one knee and then she gives the mic to her girlfriend. Her girlfriend takes the mic and goes, "This is really crazy because I also was about to propose to you," and pulls out her own ring. I literally have goosebumps just telling the story. So I'm freaking out. It was the most magical thing in the entire like I can't even express. I know. It's like
You're making
it's
me cry,
crazy.
Morgan.
I know. It was truly one and I have goosebumps over my whole entire body. It was truly one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen to have two people who wanted to propose in the same way during the same song. Their rings were almost matching and they hadn't planned that. They told me afterwards that they were both planning on it during that song. They had no idea. Like, it's just like they say, to be loved is to be known. And those two clearly knew each other so deeply. Ugh, it just was the coolest thing ever. So, yeah, then I ended up posting that video, and I posted it during with Skin and Bones underneath it as well, because to me, that Skin and Bones really is like a love song to me. It's just that one's so special to me. So, I just feel I can't even fathom the fact that I got to be a part of one of the most special moments of their life. Like, it's crazy.
And that's beautiful. And you have recently very generously shared some really touching stories about really impactful moments for you and your family because you got engaged and then
I
recently
did.
you got married and you really make me think about this whole you mentioned about like to love is to be known.
Mm,
I always tell my kids like if you're going to get married, make sure you marry your best friend. And from
mhm.
looking from the outside looking in, it really looks like that's what you've done.
I, honest to God, feel so lucky. I feel so in the right place with the right person. Like, he is opposite of me in every way, and it balances me out so amazingly. I'm so grateful for him. I always say, like, he's the rock in my hurricane, and he lets me be everything that I not lets me because, like, no one could ever tell me not to, but I actually said this in my vows, like, he encourages every single part of me that makes me the most me, you know? He's never tried to make me smaller. He's never tried to make my dreams smaller because that can be inten like, the life that I live and the dreams that I have could be very intimidating, and I told him on one of our first dates, I said, "I will not say no to my career for you because I would resent you, and this is the first love of my life is music." And so I remember I said to him, when we started dating, I had never even been on tour, and I said, "What happens if I start touring for months at a time?" And he said, "Well, I would come visit you." And he has come and visited me on almost every single tour I've ever done.
That's beautiful, and
Yeah.
it's so important, and I love that you were in a place in your life where you could set those boundaries. Was that did that always come really naturally to you, or was that something that you learned over time?
No, I've been in a couple of, pretty serious relationships. Um, Hunter, my husband, still feels very weird to say husband, whoa. Uh, he taught me a lot about independence. I think I kind of mentioned my family were a bit codependent, and it's in a way that I'm okay with because we are really, really, really close. And I've had to learn how to not insert myself, not be the family therapist in every situation and stuff. But as a result, I think I've always been a bit of a codependent person and like really relied on other people to make me feel steady and whole and whatever. And Hunter really taught me how to or helped teach me how to kind of stand on my own 2 feet and feel like really just grounded and comfortable and confident in who I am, and, like, everything else is kind of just like gravy.
I love that. I appreciate it so much because I also have I've been married twice. I'm in my
Mm,
second marriage and it looks completely different than my first. I was 19 when I got
mm,
engaged the first time, which was really too young.
yeah.
You have a lot of learning and your brain has a lot of developing to do at that age and a lot of music to listen to, a lot of life
Yeah.
lessons to learn. um, and I was actually a musician back then and I gave up my career
Yeah.
because I was told that that wasn't a good career for a family.
Yeah,
And so I did completely give up something I'd worked on for a long, long, long time.
yeah.
I was living out in New York City at the time and came back to the Midwest where I'm originally from and went into medical school and did a completely different thing. Um, but it's interesting now with my second marriage, I'm intolerable. I will not be bridled or kept back from the things that I wanna do because nothing I
Mhm.
wanna do is gonna hurt anybody. It's all good
Right.
stuff, right?
100%.
And it's fascinating because he would never do that to me. And one line in a song of yours that made me think of that, and I was like, "Oh, I feel this, kindredness to the structure of the relationships in your song more."
Yeah.
And you talking about our love for dogs, which we mentioned also off stage. You talked about, we may disagree, 1 dog or 3.
Mhm. Yeah. It's so funny. I wrote that song for Hunter for our wedding, and I surprised him with it, and, um, it's hilarious because in every both of our vows and in every single one of the speeches, everyone talked about how I'm obsessed with dogs, I'm obsessed with dog rescue, I always wanna foster dogs, I bring home on any day these little ratty looking dogs. Everyone talked about how Hunter is always just like, "That's my girl," like, "Okay, I'll give him 4 baths if I need to," like, and he doesn't necessarily feel the same, like, obsession with these rescue dogs as I feel, but he just loves to support me in that way and in everything that I do, whether it's my career or a dog rescue or, like, he just Yeah, so that to me is, like, why he is really my person, and that's not to say that it's been easy. We've been together now 4.5 years, and we've had a lot of really tough kinda come to Jesus moments. Not a lot, but we had, specifically one really hard come to Jesus moment, and it took both of us going to therapy and really, like, deciding that this relationship was important enough to us to become the versions of ourselves that we need to be successful in this relationship and happy. And I think, like, that was really the moment for me that I was like, I started going to therapy again and really managing, learning, like, dealing with my anxiety that had been crippling for me for several years. And so it was kind of a combo of, like, the way that he grew and all of the work that he did, the work that I did, and I just feel very stable and steady right now, which is a very good feeling. And obviously, I'm sure things will change and things will happen, but right now I feel good.
I love that. I love what you've outlined there. And I can tell you with, again, with my second marriage, we went through something very, very similar.
Mhm.
And I think in part that's the difference between, how I might have approached a relationship as a young woman with low self-esteem and who was a people pleaser and all those things, right? You don't have that many fights when you're people pleasing.
Right.
But when you're actually standing on your own and you're really committed to growing and becoming the best version of yourself, there are growing pains, right?
Yeah,
There's
100%. My parents have been married for almost 45 years, and they're just iconic. I mean, they literally met when they were, like, teenagers. They're amazing. But they always say, they're like, "There is no 45-year marriage that doesn't go through some stuff," you know? And if there is, like, that maybe in and of itself is the problem, because does that mean that one person's always conceding, like you said, people pleasing, like, so I'm very inspired by them. And, Hunter's dad and his stepmom have been together for over 20 years, so we're lucky that we have kind of good examples of love and commitment and yeah.
that's beautiful. And your amazing song that you released very recently, Heart You Didn't Break, really outlines that. And I think one of the things I wanted to mention with that song that I think is, there's the family relationship, the relationship with your spouse or partner.
Mhm.
And then there's just something that's so important for any human, something that you've referenced therapy in our conversation. And so I think you probably have read, as many of us have, that, someone can have a really, really, really rocky, challenging life. But if they have one person who is stable, who will be there for them, who will listen to them,
Mhm.
even if it's someone they don't see every day, right? It could even be an aunt, an uncle, or a teacher. If they have one person that shows up for them, that makes the rest of it feel more like just noise because they can find that resilience within themselves because of that support. And that's
Mhm.
what really came to my mind when I was listening to your song, Heart You Didn't Break.
Yeah, so I wrote that song for my parents specifically, but in my head, it does not need to be about parents because, like you said, the people who get us through things that's different for everybody, it's, and I even posted a video to the song, but it's one of my best friends in the world. When she gave a speech at my wedding, my face was just like, I've known her since I was 12, and she, again, just made me feel so known and so seen. And I was like, this is also somebody in my life who fixed a heart they didn't break many times. And so it doesn't have to be, it's not really about one specific person. It's just about really recognizing the people who stay when things get hard and who don't judge us at our lowest points. And like you said, I think if everyone can just find one person who makes them feel seen and understood, that's that's life changing,
It
you know?
really is. And life
And
saving.
life saving, absolutely. And I try in my music to be hopefully like a source of inspiration for people, so that they don't feel alone. And I hope too that in some ways people meet through community, like they'll meet at my shows or they'll meet whatever, and they become those people for each other. And that's like the coolest thing ever because to have something that you bond over that turns into a real friendship and like community, that's amazing to me.
It is. Recently at one of your shows, I don't know if it was Pontiac or somewhere similar, here in the Midwest, these 2 ladies were there, and they had made shirts themselves that they wore,
Mhm.
and I commented on it, you commented on it, lots of people liked it, and it was just so cool to feel that connection because I think it's kind of like complimenting someone on the street when you like if you have something nice to say, just say it
Oh, 100%. 100%. I
because we
I
need to
always
hear it.
think that no one's ever regretted being kind.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's something that you do so beautifully is that you
Thank you.
do truly create a community and a safe space for people, whether it's online at your shows or just simply listening to your songs. Because again, the delivery is so it's intriguing for me as also someone who is a songwriter. And you mentioned also about so sometimes you have something you want to say and it's just not coming out quite right. And then something magical happens and it comes out perfectly, and that's how I feel about your songs. You listen to some lyrics, and I have actually something I wrote down here because I wanted to make sure to specifically read it. Uh, you can't hate your way to happiness.
Mm,
It's a waste of time you can't unspend. You can't hate your way to happiness. It's a waste of life you can't relive. Straight to the point, straight to the heart.
yeah, that's the bridge to my song "Made For," which, I wrote just kind of about body image, and we especially as women, we spend so much time judging ourselves and criticizing ourselves, and then the older you get, the more you're like, "What a waste." Like, I don't wanna spend any more time of my precious life hating this vessel that is the only reason I even get to experience any of this. It's like, what a it just seems so silly when you think about it like that. Um, but I have this thing with bridges where I love a bridge. It's part of why I love Taylor Swift. She's the queen of bridges. But a lot of people don't really write them anymore, and I don't
Mm.
always, but 99% of the time when I write a bridge, it's, like, in 2 seconds, sometimes the song is already done and we're, like, recording the final vocal, and I'm just like, "Wait, there's one more thing I have to say." And that was the case with those lines. It just literally fell out of me, and I was like, "Okay, so I think that's the bridge."
It is. Oh my gosh. It's like literally hearing you say that, I just got goosebumps because, yeah, it really does. It makes the song. I was writing down quotes and I wrote down quotes from earlier in the song, but then I thought, but this says so much. It's such a universal theme. And all of the things that we've talked about today, women's rights,
Mhm.
we've talked about, political discourse, we've talked about humans' rights, we've talked about the rights of the gay and queer community, right? We've talked about all these things, but at the end of the day, you can't hate your way to happiness, right?
Yeah.
Hate isn't going to get us where we want to go. If we want to build something beautiful, it starts with love, it starts with
Yeah.
introspection and with sharing stories and sharing joy the way that you are through your music and it's
Thank you.
so beautiful.
One of my favorite quotes of all time is by Maya Angelou, and she says, all artists I'm gonna say it incorrectly, but something like, "All artists draw from the same resource, the human heart, which shows us that we are more alike than we are unalike." And I think, like, I just love that idea of, like, at the end of the day, we're all humans, and we can disagree about things, and we can you don't have to you don't have to be obsessed with every person you meet, you don't have to be best friends with every single person you meet, but coming at things from a place of hate is certainly not gonna get anybody anywhere,
Mm-mm.
you know?
And again, to the bank, you're just adding to that person's bank. Why don't you save that
Literally.
resource for yourself?
Exactly.
We haven't really talked much about this, but a lot of your discography is about specifically feminism, women's
Mhm,
rights.
mhm.
Some songs that come to mind are Breadcrumbs, Not All Men, which is, I mean, that's iconic. Was that a really breakthrough song for you as an artist, the way it resonated with women?
Yeah, so the story essentially behind Not All Men is I was, writing music and just writing pop music that I thought was fun and cool and whatever. And it was during COVID, everyone's on TikTok and nothing is resonating with people. And I was just starting to get really frustrated. And I actually had a conversation with two of my best friends in the same week. And both of them said to me, you need to get back to writing songs, just you and a guitar or you and a piano and just sing your truth. Like, stop trying to be a pop star. Stop trying to write songs like the ones you hear on the radio. Like, get back to what makes you Morgan St. Jean. And in the same week, the Me Too movement was like a really big thing. And another one of my friends had gone through a situation where she was seeing this guy, not even seeing him, but like had been on a date with this guy. And she was like, no, no, no. And he literally said to her, stop saying no. And I was so, like, taken aback by that. I was like, "What a crazy response." And that's not even a bad story in quote, unquote, "in comparison to what we've all experienced and all these things." And so I had this idea for Not All Men, and I called Alex, my guitar player producer, and I said, "Can I come in? I have this idea." Wrote the chorus to just guitar in, like, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I was like, "Wow, that was, like" whatever happens with that song, that was something that I needed to write. Like, that was in me, and I'm glad it's now out of me because that was crazy, you know? And I posted it to TikTok, and within a day or 2, it had, like, a few million views. I ended up finishing the song, releasing it and stuff, and it really honestly changed the entire course of my career because it showed me how I needed to write these songs that actually say stuff. There's a whole community of women and people who aren't women as well, but specifically women who, like, desperately needed their voices to be heard. And if I could be like a megaphone for the stories that they had, then that was like genuinely that feels like my purpose in life. So it kind of made me feel brave enough to, like, start writing these songs that say a little bit more than just whatever I was trying to write before.
Yeah, I understand. I was a teenager writing and I wrote not just for myself, but I also wrote for other artists, which I
Mm.
think you as a songwriter have likely had that experience as well, right? Where you're told, okay, it's this is what the band, this is what they want, and you do the thing. And from my perspective then, and also with the vibe of the music industry then, there wasn't necessarily a lot of substance
Yeah.
always to the music that I wrote, but I really came into my own when I started writing the tough stuff that I didn't
Mhm.
necessarily want to say out loud, didn't want to share, but just going
Like,
into a
slightly
studio and
scary,
doing it. Yeah, it's
and that's how
scary.
you almost know that it's worth saying, you know? And that's
Exactly.
not to say that there's anything wrong with, like, the feel good I freaking love a fun Sabrina Carpenter song, whatever, like, I love pop music, that's what made me fall in love with music, but it's just, like, for me as an artist, I feel like there is more that I need to get off my chest, and there's more that my fans need to hear.
Absolutely. In this feminist, I have to tell you a little story. So, in the feminist realm, so literally yesterday, I was filming in the morning and then I was running errands before I had to get a mammogram. I had like 10 minutes for the mammogram and I was like, okay, Home Depot is across the road. I'm going to go grab this thing for the studio that I need. Because I was so busy and I'd been filming, I was wearing like a nice dress and heels, which was also really funny going to get the mammogram too. But who cares? But I run into Home Depot, and as I'm running in, this woman who's dressed more appropriately for Home Depot than I was walks up to me on the street and she goes, "Girl, you are looking good.
Oh my
You're gonna
gosh.
you're gonna go in there and find yourself a rich husband." She literally said that to me. And in my mind, I was so busy, I wasn't even hung up on the fact that I was going to be interviewing Morgan St. Jean the next day, like I have been for a month. So in that moment, I just thought I went straight to my head, like, I am a rich man. I didn't say
Yes.
that to her,
Right.
but your song lyrics came into my head because I wasn't wearing that dress for anyone else's attention. I was just
Yeah.
wearing it because I like it, right? And I enjoyed
100%.
it.
100%. It's like and I think that's the cool thing too about feminism and some people get upset with the idea of feminism, right? But it's like the whole point is just to say, like, be who you wanna be. Do
Yeah,
what you
and
wanna
be
do.
equal.
Wear what you wanna wear. And, like, all of that is A-okay with me. If that means that somebody feels drawn to be a stay-at-home mom, more power to them. If that means that somebody feels drawn to be a CEO and they don't ever wanna have kids, more power to them. Like, it's just like that to me is what feminism is it's just giving women the freedom and the space to be what is authentic to them,
Exactly.
you
And
know?
no shade on the comment she made. It was just funny because to me, I think because you have been on my brain, it's just the song lyric just came. But I didn't say it out loud because that might not have been very nice. She was just being sweet.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a funny moment and it was in my head.
Yeah.
Um, so we
I
talked
love
about
that energy, though. I just love the energy of like, "No, wait, I am the rich husband."
and I think, also as we get older, what what is richness, right?
My god, what a great point, yeah.
Mm. And I feel like someone like yourself who, like, goodness, you've created riches.
Thank you, that's really nice.
You really have created richness in the world. And I think the older I get, at least, that's the thing that I want to do with my life. You can't take money with you, but if you leave a legacy of kindness, of inclusion, and a beautiful community, that is true riches. And you are certainly doing that with your work.
Thank you for saying that because, as I'm sure you're aware, like, the music industry is so brutal. It really is. It's so tough, and I know that I'm speaking from a place of privilege when I say that, and I've achieved certain things that I'm so proud of. But it's so hard, and I think I am very much, an overachiever, a recovering perfectionist, and so I'm always being like, "What's next? What's next? What's next?" And so it really feels good to have you kinda bring me back to earth for a second and be like, "Look what you've already done." That's worth something.
That's so I suffer from this too. Um, how have you maybe you can teach me
Mm.
something more today even because, you've just been on the Girls Just Wanna Tour, you've just gotten married, you've
Yeah.
released a lot of beautiful songs recently, you're doing so much, and you even have some exciting things coming up and in the coming months that I'd love to talk about too. So how have you found a way in a really busy life as a person also who, by the way, you're a person who says yes. You're a person that someone, you're not a people pleaser necessarily. It sounds like you've really worked on boundaries, but you're also, you kind of seem to live life with open palms in this really beautiful way. So how do you, with the life that you lead, maintain a status quo that is sustainable and that
Mm.
allows you to continue to grow and not lose yourself with everything you're doing?
I think if I'm completely honest, that is a daily challenge. It's just like, again, like I'm always, and I love what I do, but I'm always working. I'm always thinking about how do I grow this? What could I post that would make people hear this song? Or how do I write the song that's going to change people's lives or what? Like I'm constantly thinking about that. I actually joke. I ask Hunter sometimes, I'm like, what are you thinking about? And he'll be like, nothing. And I'm like, what? I've n so then I'll be like, "So what's in your brain? Is it like a black box? Like, what?" And he's like, "Nothing." And I'm like, "But I actually don't understand how that's never been I don't have that." Um, but I think something that I'm telling myself right now because, I did just get married and I want to enjoy that part of my life, but I also I try to think of things as like different just like phases of life. Right now, I am in a phase of my life where my career is number 1 and my relationship is steady and rock solid and that's wonderful and it's supporting this career, but I don't have kids. Things are moving in a way that I feel like is creating momentum and so I just feel like I owe it to myself to have this time to really give my career everything I have. And that way, when it's a different phase of life, I feel like I'll be able to be present in that phase because I did this phase with 100%.
Hmm.
I have no idea if that's healthy.
But it's feeling good right now is what
Yeah.
I'm hearing. It's
Yes.
working right now. And you know what? That's the beautiful thing about pivoting, right?
Yeah.
As someone, like I said, I've been a musician, a physician. I now run a media group. I
Crazy.
have a publishing house. We do children's literature. I recently started a company called Know Me Stories Channel where we report on Northern Michigan stories because that's where we live
Wow.
much of the
Yeah.
time. And I think it's really great when you get into the part of your life where like, I'm gonna do all that and I'm gonna do it unapologetically,
Her? Yeah.
right?
Yep. I really think that's where I'm starting to get to. It's just this place of like, it's my life. And like I never want to do anything that hurts somebody else or makes somebody else's life worse in any way. So as long as I'm not doing that, I should do what feels right for me, you know?
I love it so much, Morgan, and I'm just so grateful to spend this time in your energy, and I think that everyone who's listening to this is going to absorb some of that energy and carry it forward, and it's just gonna, like it's gonna be this beautiful shift, and that's again, it goes back to community and the power of our voices, of music. So, like, this guys, this is what Morgan St. Jean can do when she's just speaking, like we all do all day, every day. Now go listen to her music and really, really see just the absolute lightning in a bottle that she manages to get in those 3 to 4 minutes every single time in so many different categories. It's really amazing. Do you have a
Thank you.
favorite song or maybe a top 3?
Uh, right now, I don't know. I guess it changes because there's some songs that are so fun to play live. So if I'm on tour, it's like that might be my favorite song. One of the songs I'm most proud of right now is Made For because I just think it's such a cool idea of like, this is literally what we're here to do. Like, we should be grateful for and I try to like, I'm so cheesy and, woo woo, but I write down things I'm grateful for every single day. And every single day I'm like, wow, I have a hand that can write. I have a notebook that I was able to afford to buy. Like, it's so crazy, but it's like I have eyes that allow me to, it's just so that sounds so weird, but like it's just to me like such a powerful concept when you're just like, wow, I have wasted time hating this thing and when I should just be grateful for all that it allows me to do. It wasn't made to look perfect without cellulite or without wrinkles. It wasn't made for that. It was made to let us walk and go incredible places and see beautiful views and kiss the people we love. And, like that's what it's for. So, anyway, that's probably the song I'm most proud of right now. Skin and Bones will always be like one of my just like songs from my soul.
I love it. And for me, I told you at the top, but past life was actually how I met you initially through your work, was through past life. And I'll never forget it because I was in a really challenging time in my life, and past life and Good Swimmer were really important to me. And your voice just, because guys, if you haven't heard Morgan's singing voice yet, it's jarringly actually different than
I
your
was just
speaking
gonna say a
voice.
lot of people say it's so different.
So different. It's very different, but it's just, and I'm an alto as well, so
Mm,
I really appreciate Because I think being an alto is also it's another challenge in the music industry. There are not that many forward-facing
Not at
altos.
all. And when I tell you, truly, it was one of my biggest insecurities growing up was my voice because I never got the roles in the musical theater thing. I never got cast in certain groups because it didn't blend well enough. I literally just made a TikTok about this. It was the thing that made me different, and when you're growing up, being different is, like, the worst thing you can be, and now I'm like, "Whoa, that is my superpower, that is the thing that makes me me," but it was something I really had to learn to embrace, like, again, like, I wanted to be the soprano singing the musical theater song that got me the lead in some musical at school, and I was never that.
Well, now you're the lead. Now you're definitely the lead, and hopefully those character building experiences helped motivate you. I'm sure that
Yes.
they did. You're incredible, and as a fellow alto, it was really inspiring for me to hear you because I had very similar experiences and very, similar challenges coming up and really having to make my own sound. And definitely someday, because I'm a fellow alto, I will be, if you're ever holding auditions for backup singers,
Wouldn't
I
that be
will be
so fun? Oh my gosh.
I will be the first to audition. You don't have to pay me. I will just be there
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
with bells on. So, yeah, absolutely. We are such fans of you,
Thank
Morgan.
you.
Please share with us how our Talks with Dr. Shafer listeners can connect with you, listen to your music, and what might be coming up soon for them to
Yeah.
enjoy to maybe get to see you live.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. You are so lovely, and, your energy is also just like I just feel like I'm gonna go through the day feeling happy and grateful, and you're wonderful, and I really appreciate you. People can follow me on social media. I'm very active, as you're probably aware. I on Instagram, Morgan St. Jean, just my name, is where I post all the updates and stuff. I also started a Laylo, which is a really great way for people to um, get in touch with me. It's I can email you, text you. It's just a much more direct way for people, and it's free to join. And I'm going to do a merch sale for all my Laylo subscribers. So if you want to join the Laylo, just search like Morgan St. Jean Laylo, and it should pop up.
I just learned something. I feel like I'm in all the things, and I've never heard of Laylo before.
Yes. I know, it's still new to me as well, but it's really cool, and on tour, we would do, like, a merch giveaway for everybody who joined the Laylo, so it's just a really easy way to stay in touch and be in communication. And then I just finished, the first leg of the Girls Just Wanna Tour, but that means that there is a second leg, and I haven't actually told anybody this yet, but I'm going to Europe in November, just a few dates for the Girls Just Wanna Tour, but I've never headlined in Europe. I did 1 London headline show last summer. It was all I wanted to do for my birthday. So, I did a London headline show for my birthday, and but other than that, I've only ever been a support act in Europe, and so I'm really excited. I'm doing London again, I think a couple cities in Germany, and they're still working out the details of the rest of the cities, but keep your eyes out because I am very excited and I love Europe so much. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. And I am, as you know, petitioning for a Prague date. Our whole family would be there. We want you to come to Prague.
You know what's funny
Oh
is my
my
mom
goodness.
always tells me to play in Prague because my parents like to come on tour with me sometimes, and she was like, "Prague, they just get you in Prague."
It's a special city. It's a special
It really
city.
is.
My husband is the director of the House of National Minorities there in
Oh,
Prague.
wow.
And his family is very connected. If you look up Stedron and theater, like
Okay.
so Prague, Stedron theater, you'll see how connected they are in the theater community,
Wow.
and also in classical music. So it's a very musical family, and so yeah, like we would all want to go see you. So
Oh my
we're
gosh,
gonna.
amazing.
And I don't know who I need to send a letter to, but we're going to
Well,
petition for a Prague
we'll
date.
work on it.
Morgan, thank you so much for being here. This has just been an absolute joy, and we're going to
Thank
carry this
you.
feeling.
I
Mm.
appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you so much. And we want to also tell our storytellers how much we appreciate them. Thank you for joining us today. I hope this has nourished your soul as much as it has mine. Go listen to Morgan's amazing discography where you enjoy to get your tunes. And also make sure that you comment, tell us what your favorite songs are, why, and keep the community building going. Until next time, as always, stay safe and take care. I'll talk to you soon.